The Book of Inner Paths by Péter Popper, translated from the Hungarian by Gábor Szurányi and Joshua A. Williams, recorded and sound edited by Mindfreak Productions, narrated by Sam Hall. Episode 5. Concentration. Concentration is the enduring focus of thought. It is the intensified and ever-deepening attention given to one chosen subject, be it a physical phenomenon or a spiritual one. The essence of concentration is the temporary suppression of our feelings, associations, and subjective reactions to objectivity. It is surprising how often concentration is confused with meditation. Although certain schools use concentration as a way of training for meditation, the fact remains that active and objectively seeking concentration is the counterpoint to psychologically passive and subjective meditation. It is precisely for this reason that concentration is useful as a preparatory exercise for meditation. We cannot begin our mental well-being exercises with concentration. Well executed and thoughtful concentration demands training. Although our exercises up until this point can be undertaken independently, they can also be looked at as a type of preparation for concentration. If we are already enjoying sustained success with the exercises, then it is worthwhile turning our attention to pure concentration. The exercises on concentration serve to strengthen the order of our whole character and the development of the power of the self. The concentration of our intellectual and cognitive powers produces a crystallization point that is conscious and intentional strength concentrating skill. This means a state of calmness under whose influence the effect gradually spreads out to other areas of the psyche, the first of which being our emotional life. Concentration usually increases our capacity for withstanding mental strain and for bearing heavier intellectual loads. It also increases our capacity for work. It assists in the ordering of character and in bringing balance to our emotional life. The methods for carrying out these exercises on concentration vary in accordance with which problem we are tackling. As our culture's fundamental problems are anxiety, overstimulation, and stress, these so-called relaxation exercises have become widespread. These are autogenic training methods that are built upon techniques of muscle relaxation, which result in the reduction of psychological strain and bring about inner peace. Many people, however, do not have this problem, but rather their problem is listlessness, fatigability, and drowsiness. In other words, they suffer from a lack of energy. It is, therefore, unsuitable to simply complete relaxation exercises. In fact, for these people, the opposite is true. They are in need of exercises which increase stamina and raise their level of activity. In the appropriate place, the method for how the exercises must be completed will be indicated so that the desired effect might be achieved. Looking at the problem of these exercises on concentration from another point of view, we must come to terms with the fact that the way we lead our lives today is often characterized by a waste of energy. Our overly varied tasks and obligations, backlog of duties, and complex affairs all result in situations where we undertake more than we could naturally and effectively do. We become hopelessly superficial, and often it is at the moment when we cannot focus that it would be the most vital for us and for others to do so. A countless amount of energy is squandered with unnecessary talk, gossip, complaining, and small talk that is both boring and tiring for us. I do not remember who wrote the following. The 3 fundamental sins are speaking without having anything to say, drinking without thirst, and sleeping with someone without having a desire for him or her. These are, however, the most common sins committed by today's European men and women. In the end, a sort of conveyor belt takes shape in our lives, which, in this power-squandering state, drags us through the days and weeks. Although we publicly feign rebellion, we are incapable of jumping off. These exercises on concentration are also helpful in helping us to focus on the most important things in our everyday lives as we pull ourselves together. 1. Introductory exercises. In the first place, a certain amount of time and calm is necessary for these exercises on concentration. They can be completed in a room or in a quiet place outside, just as long as we can be assured at least half an hour of total peace. The purpose of these introductory exercises is to reduce our current level of stress by bringing about a temporary state of calm, which will allow us to start working. These are themselves already concentration exercises. We should not go any further than these introductory exercises until we are successful at completing them. They do not necessarily require a strictly periodic approach. In fact, it can be beneficial if we complete them only once a week. A. The first exercise. Spread out a blanket on the ground and gently sit down cross-legged, Indian style. If we are stressed or excited, we should place our hands on our lap, one on top of the other, and let our body relax so that we slouch under our own weight and let our head droop. This position has a relaxing effect. If we are tired, we should straighten our back, waist and head and put our hands out on our knees. This position has a refreshing effect. Now we close our eyes and breathe deeply, regularly and rhythmically. After a time, our breathing should slow. At this time, we should concentrate exclusively on our nostrils, paying attention to how the air passes in and out through them. We should pay attention in this way for 8 to 10 breaths. B. The second exercise. In the same position, we now concentrate on how the other parts of our body are involved in breathing. We should focus on how the air moves through our throat, how our chest contracts and expands, and how our diaphragm rises and falls, and how our belly rhythmically swells. If we feel this fully, we should try imagining these swelling motions of our body as a picture, visualizing them in our imagination together with the breathing process. We concentrate on this image for 8 to 10 breaths. C. The third exercise. If the first 2 exercises are successful, then we can continue. In the same position, we concentrate on the following. Like with everything in the world, breathing also has a beginning, middle, and an end. The subject of our concentration is, then, the beginning, the middle, and the end of inhaling, the beginning, the middle, and the end of exhaling. We now concentrate on this sequence 8 to 10 more times. 2. Exercises on concentration. A. Concentrating on a point. Here, we draw an easily visible black dot in the middle of a white piece of paper. We fix the paper to a door so that the point is at exactly the same height as our eyes. Sitting comfortably but upright, Indian style, with our hands on our knees, if possible, without blinking, we continuously look at the point for a few minutes. The time of the exercise can be gradually increased. We should make an effort not to become distracted, and we should only focus on the dot. In other words, we should try to empty ourselves out, suppressing our associations, thoughts and feelings, so that they do not divert our attention. B. Concentrating on an imagined point. Depending on the state of our psyche, we should sit either in an upright position or hunched, with our eyes closed. We concentrate on a similar, but now imagined, dot. This exercise has been perfected if we can conjure up the dot as it is in real life. With our eyes closed, we only see this dot, without any attention diverting thought or feeling. We will discover that this is not at all an easy task to achieve. If we are successful, we should concentrate, immobile, on this dot for several minutes. C. Concentrating on an object. The position of the body should be the same. Our object of concentration should be something that is rather simple, for example, a plant, a vase, or a simple painting. We should try to remain immobile. In a glance, we take the entire object all at once. In other words, our look should not wander into details. We only notice details as part of our immobile concentration. As with all of the exercises on concentration, the precondition is that we must empty ourselves by ridding ourselves of memories, associations, and feelings. We should fill our consciousness solely with the object on which we are concentrating. D. Concentrating on an imagined object. In the prescribed body position, we now imagine a simple object. With our eyes closed, we visualize it by recalling its realistic image. The whole image of this object must be entirely clear, complete with its contours, details, surface colours, material appearance, and shades. Again, we concentrate on it entirely, emptied of our own thoughts and feelings. We will find that it will require many attempts before we can achieve complete success with this exercise. Some schools of thought increase the demand for perfect concentration to a level at which the picture is conjured up in a spatially lifelike way. In this way, the object's distance from the person is also maintained, and the person could actually feel, if they were to lean forward, a slight bump as they come into contact with the object. This level of immersion is not necessary for us. It is enough, rather, to arrive at a clear picture of the object during the concentration process. Our final observation will be that once this exercise is successful, it will turn off our notion of time. Afterwards, we will be surprised to see how much time passed in immersion without our noticing. This temporary break in our notion of time is the most concrete proof that concentration was successful. Of course, we are only talking about if the period of time of the concentration imperceptibly increases and afterwards we realize that not merely a few minutes, but rather a quarter of an hour, or half an hour even, have passed. E. Concentrating on reflected light. We complete this concentration task in the same surroundings, in the same body position, and with closed eyes. We imagine a lake with a still surface. Above the lake, the sun shines. The image of the sun is reflected in the water. We concentrate on this. F. Concentrating on a fading sound. In the prescribed manner, we try to imagine a continuous musical note that we consider very pleasant. It could be a sung note or a note made by a wind or string instrument. We can make the task easier for ourselves if we actually listen to this note beforehand, for example, by loudly playing the note on a piano. It is important that, after this, with our eyes closed, we are able to conjure up the note in the way that it sounds, fading away, and, in the end, almost imperceptible until it completely dies away. While concentrating, we should make sure that this internal note sounds inside of us for as long as possible. This brings the basic concentration exercises to a close. After these exercises have been well practiced, we will, all the more often, see the direct benefit of each of these exercises on concentration. These will include increased internal serenity and relaxation, or even rejuvenation. Another, more slowly developing effect will be an increase in our collectedness and balance, as well as an increased ability to work. Perhaps the world will have become a bit more interesting for us because, in retrospect, we will see that it is only the surface of things and people that is boring. The ability to immerse ourselves will bring forth more and more layers of reality, which will fill us with the joy of discovery and realization. 3. Concentrating on an abstract subject. After the successful completion of these basic exercises, we should choose abstract content for the subject of our concentration. Here, we are no longer in need of a real or imagined tangible event or object, but rather we are able to concentrate on thoughts. The thought or line of thought that is chosen as an object of our concentration should always be short, succinct, and suggestive. It cannot contain superfluous filler items. We must stick to the essential part of the problem. We must choose the line of thought of the object of concentration from the problem area that is either recurring or currently occupying our thoughts. It would be of value to base our ideas for concentration primarily on the unresolved situations and difficult tasks that we are struggling with, or perhaps the problematic internal traits. We could describe these in detail. Beforehand, we must formulate the thoughts that are the object of our concentration, so that their recollection does not cause us difficulty. In this way, we can concentrate on the entirety of the content with our whole mental power. The background area of the thoughts gradually unfolds under the effect of concentration. During the course of intensification, our experiences related to given thoughts gradually fall into line, and judgments begin to take shape that show the events in a new light. Those who are versed in concentration are already capable of alternating periodically between narrowing down and expanding their thinking throughout the performance of the exercise. First, these people concentrate only on the content of the given thought. Then, keeping in connection with the original thought for a short time, they free their mind to wander to memories, events, and associated thoughts that arise. After this, they restrict mental activity by returning to the original thought. During one of these sittings, we should allow ourselves to run through 2 or 3 of these periods. We always end the exercise by concentrating on the original object. We will find that the thoughts that come to the surface while concentrating will work in us, and when we come to the next exercise, our understanding will be deeper. We can return on multiple occasions to the same thoughts, allowing them to be the subject of more concentration exercises. We should change the subject of concentration when, after using it several times, we can no longer go deeper with it. After the passing of a longer time, however, it is advisable to return to an older subject. Because of this, we should decide for ourselves what the subject of our concentration will be. For this, we can exploit our own thoughts or thoughts originating from others, a line of a poem or a quote from a philosopher or novelist that touches on our problem. The important thing to keep in mind is that we should like the thought, it should be important to us. As an example, I have given a few of my own thoughts that could be used for concentration. In the beginning, if no others come to mind, you can choose from among these. A. Subjects for concentration concerning issues with life direction. He, in whom there is disorder, brings disorder to his surroundings. He, in whom there is order, cultivates order around himself. Theoretical background. Children are primarily reactive beings. Their behaviour is chosen based on how the environment behaves around them. An adult secures the possibility of real action, being able to shape his environment. Whether he likes it or not, his psychological state reaches out to his environment. We blame external circumstances for our problems, whereas we make them this way. If we create order in ourselves, we will find solutions even for the most difficult situations. The past is no longer. The future is not yet. The only reality is the present. Theoretical background. The result of our undisciplined thinking is that we waste countless amounts of energy dwelling on the unreal past and future. We hold on to our old wounds, or we long for our bygone selves. We frighten or comfort ourselves with the future. In the meantime, we gloss over the current state of reality, the present, and we are unable to experience it with the proper depth and intensity. Because of this, we make mistakes and miss out on things. It is for this reason that, above all else, we must focus on the present. We can renounce everything. Only main roots of our lives cannot be severed. I will look for my life's roots. Theoretical background. In life, we cannot exist without compromises. We must adapt to others. However, we must not make compromises that we cannot bear. The foundations of our lives must remain unscathed. We must familiarize ourselves with these foundations. All the rest is unimportant. I cannot be as important to others as I am to myself. My own matters weigh heavier on me than those of the outside world. Theoretical background. So quickly do we forget the difficulties and failures of others. How often do we pass over their successes and joys? Other people do the same with us. It is for this reason that we must not allow ourselves to overestimate the importance of what others think. What would they say? Our problems, embarrassment, and failures do not concern other people as much as they do us. This holds true for our joys and successes as well. How much have we tortured and shamed ourselves pointlessly? How many times have we unnecessarily caused ourselves to suffer? B. Subjects for concentration for problems in the area of human relationships. Today's person is even more conspicuously me. Because of this, we must live out our fundamental experiences alone. The basis of a true relationship is accepting solitude. Theoretical background. From a psychological point of view, the history of human development can be described as a path leading to sovereignty of the individual, to the emerging I. The great blood, economic and religious communities that offered real resolution have broken down. We live the most important events of our lives alone, and nobody can appropriate our persona by living it for us. We are born alone. We suffer our illnesses and fears alone. We are alone in our discoveries, and we die alone. If we can bear this solitude, if we can avoid fleeing to false fantasies and other stupors, then we will not overly burden our relationships by demanding a share that nobody can give. Abiding by this fundamental notion, we can truly live with somebody. We can, however, still help each other a lot. A relationship can also turn into a prison, becoming saturated with lies and rebellious fantasies. We are not only partners, but also a man and a woman whose lives encompass many different ambitions. Living together can only be possible with internal freedom. A human is an indivisible entity. Either the whole person is accepted or the whole person is rejected. C. Subjects for concentration concerning problems with anxiety, fears, and guilt. Look, today is the tomorrow that you feared so much yesterday. Theoretical background. For an anxious person, it is his or her imagination that, in most cases, torments him or her. The reason for this is that anxiety looks for an object that it can latch onto. We want to make these fears, which lack a subject, comprehensible to ourselves. This process is retrospective. First, there is anxiety, and then it latches on to an imagined possibility. How unnecessary and frightened we are of tomorrow that has already come, and in fact is today. We got through it, and the imagined horror wasn't anywhere to be seen. This is the way it is with an exam or an operation. How frightened we are of it, and then, in hindsight, we calmly say, was that it? What you are is both a reward and a punishment for what you are. Theoretical background. With whom do we settle accounts? We must realize that we are primarily responsible for ourselves, and it is our conscience we must answer to. For internal affairs, there is no pull, punishment, or reward for responsibility. We are our own judges. We cannot, however, judge ourselves in an unrealistically harsh manner. By avoiding this, we will be able to be more accepting of others. We must understand that good and bad are consequences carried out within our actions, character, emotions, and thoughts. Inevitably, we live out all of these. It is because of this that all subsequent self-tormenting and self-deception is pointless. By accepting the consequences of our actions, we have already settled the accounts. Let's review. The above serve as illustrative subjects for concentration. In the end, we must reach the level where we are creating or choosing subjects for concentration by ourselves. We will experience that completed concentration exercises have a long-lasting effect and continue working within us. It is possible that in the morning, after an evening when we completed a concentration exercise, an unforeseen solution might pop up out of nowhere, or an idea will come which will bring help. End of episode 5.